Hello and welcome to the Totally African podcast, where we celebrate Africans making an impact from big to the everyday heroes because every stories matter. And today we are joined by somebody who's done and is still doing some very impressive work. Her name is Rachel Akidi, and her resume is quite impressive. She's a senior media consultant and advisor, and she was also the former senior editor and head of East African operations at the BBC Africa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for accepting to take your time to be here with us. And I think the first place we'd like to start with is just, could you walk us through your journey from where you started to where you are now?
Yeah. So my journey is quite long. How much time have we got?
As much as you can afford us.
Okay, so I was born in Uganda. I studied in Uganda, went to university, Makerere. And just before I graduated, my dad walked into the house with a newspaper, the East African newspaper. I think you're familiar with that one. And he just tossed it at me and said, the BBC is recruiting. I think you could apply for some of his jobs. So I just laughed at him because one, I didn't have any experience. Two, I was just graduating. So I thought there is just no way the BBC will take a chance on me. And so he looked a little bit disappointed. He said, come on, you can do it. Just look at the advert. And when I looked at the advert, I thought, I think I can actually do it because I'd been freelancing and contributing for different newspapers while I was a student at university. So I had written articles for the New Vision, which was one of the main dailies. I'd also written articles for the Daily Monitor. So I thought the 2 years experience they were asking for, I could, gather and put it together and say this is the evidence and the experience that I've had as a student. So I did that actually. And I was very surprised when a few weeks later I got a response saying, we've shortlisted you for an interview in Nairobi. So I flew over and met the editor at the time. He was some legendary editor called Robin White, and Ben Marlow, who was his deputy, and I did the interview. And as they say, the rest is history. So a few months after that, I found myself leaving my family and flying off to London to join the BBC, producing Focus on Africa and Network Africa, which were the flagship programs for Africa in English.
Now, as your role as a senior media consultant, what does that entail?
Yes. So I left the BBC about 18 months ago, and I decided my mission would be to try and train the next generation of journalists. I'm very passionate about the media, and I believe, in spite of all the challenges that the industry is going through, there is still a place for journalism. And so I believe we need to evolve in order to fit in this new media landscape. So part of what I'm doing is really supporting editors, media leaders, and journalists to evolve and transform in order to adapt and fit into this new modern media landscape. So I coach, I mentor, I train, and right now I'm doing a fellowship with the CUNY, which is the City University of New York, Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, and I'm in an AI journalism lab for leaders, trying to understand what it means to lead a newsroom in the age of AI.
It's nice that you mentioned that because a few moments ago we were having another conversation about the evolution that the media industry has gone through, first from the analog era to the digital era, and that came with its own challenges and pushback from the industry. And then we're still in the digital era, but then now there's this new component introduced where we have artificial intelligence as well coming in. What are some of these challenges that new or upcoming journalists should prepare themselves for?
Yeah. I think one of the things I always say, so when I started at the BBC, we were going through what was called revolutionary change at that time. And that was crazy because that was like 20 years ago. And it was phasing out old technology that had been used since the 1960s and introducing digital editing software. So they used to cut sound using tape.
A sound on tape.
On tape with razor blade. And I remember joining, and we had to do that training. And I thought, gosh, I don't think I'm going to manage this job because it was so difficult. And I couldn't believe people could actually produce whole documentaries using a razor and that kind of tape and cutting and editing it. So we evolved from that into a system called Dave, which is similar to Audition or Adobe Audition, which is an editing
Digital
computer
audio workspace.
Yes, a workspace editing software. And now, there's so many other bits of software that have, come up. So what has happened over the years is, personally, I've had to adapt. I joined as a radio journalist, as a producer, and I went on to do television. I went on to do digital and then lead, multimedia production teams. And now I'm going into AI. It's something that I'm quite interested in, the intersection between journalism and artificial intelligence. And my advice, I think, to any young journalist is be flexible, be open-minded, but most importantly, monitor the trends in the industry and follow those trends. Don't sit back and say, I'm only doing this on social, or I'm only, doing television. Whatever, side you decide to take, whatever strand you decide to take, try and be open-minded and just monitor the trends and make sure that you future-proof yourself. Do the skills you have, are they fit for the future? Make sure you look ahead, because the rate and pace at which technology is evolving is really fast. We just can't keep up, but try and keep up.
It's interesting because we were having a similar conversation earlier on today. You've mentioned that you are part of a workshop, AI workshop at the City University of New York. And the AI genie has left the bottle. It's
Yes.
really hard to put it back. But there's this fear that I think they refer to it as the singularity, that it will get to a point where AI is so advanced that it takes over and humans are left behind. In your workshop, is this a fear that you've come across, and what is your response to this?
Yeah. So I think what we're doing is really testing all these theories, because, as you say, it's a new thing. No, there are few media houses that have started experimenting with it. People are afraid, genuinely, that AI is going to come and take their jobs. But if we look at it from the context of media, I don't think AI is going to replace us as journalists. I think what AI is going to do is to enhance our journalism and help support us with different tasks. I think we keep looking at it from one strand. And I'm glad I'm on this leadership program, because looking at it from a leadership perspective, it's not just about the generative AI and churning stories or content using artificial intelligence. It could be processes as well. News gathering. How do we always gather stories? It could be personalizing news for audiences. It could be helping you with churning through data and just summarizing stuff like that. So there are many ways in which it can be used, even with HR processes, as well, management processes. So there are many ways in which it can be utilized. And what it does is take away the repetitive tasks. I'll give you an example. I used to work with the BBC, and the BBC has 42 language services. So it broadcasts and publishes content in 42 languages. 12 of those languages are in are in Africa. And I led 6 of them here in Kenya. So we had Swahili, we had Somali, we had Afano Romo from Ethiopia, Amharic from Ethiopia, Tigrinya from Ethiopia, as well as English. Now, whenever someone did a story, let me say powerful investigation, BBC Africa Eye, you had to get the script translated into 42 languages. So that means
You had to
42
have
people
42 translators
translating this.
who had a firm grasp of each language.
Exactly. So they translate that, and then they get to repackage it in their own languages. But now with AI, you don't need 42 people doing that. You can just put it in the system and it will, translate. So those are the sort of tasks that I feel it's going to come and help do, so that journalists end up focusing on the journalism. Because translating is not journalism. Transcribing is not journalism. So if it can help us do that, I think, that is a brilliant thing. So there are many opportunities in which AI will transform the way we operate and will actually help us. But when it comes to editorial, we need to maintain the human in the loop, as they say. Because if you write a story, there are a lot of ethical issues and really so many unanswered questions. For example, if you write a story and it's all generated by AI and you publish it, who takes responsibility for any mistakes in that story? Because AI, let's face it, is not perfect. It does make mistakes.
A lot.
So who takes responsibility for that if it's published and there's a mistake? Is it the editor or is it the AI? Who do you blame? And that is why I think it's important that as we begin to introduce AI into our workflows, we ensure that there are clear guidelines and principles on how it's going to be used in each media house. And that includes, what are the lines you want to cross ethically? How transparent are you going to be when it comes to AI-generated content? Are you going to tell your audiences that we generated this using AI, or are you going to pretend you did it yourself? And what happens if there's a problem? And that's why it's important that we ensure we are transparent whenever AI tools have been used in generating any content.
Something that you've spoken about is the need for journalists and media practitioners to remain flexible and adaptive to the changing landscape. And as an industry leader, and I think somebody who is at the forefront of shaping opinion and thought in this field, what is some advice you can give specifically to the future? What is your focus for the future of the media industry?
I wish I could answer that with certainty. I think what I can say with certainty is it's going to be uncertain for a long time. Because as you see, technology is evolving. And the pace at which it's evolving is unprecedented. So that means the industry also has to keep evolving. Because what happens is when technology evolves, the audiences evolve. Their consumption habits shift. So right now, what I would say is it's going to remain unpredictable. And my call is for journalists to remain open-minded and just be more flexible and adaptable. Because I don't think there's anyone who can predict what's going to happen. But AI definitely is coming. So don't bury your head in the sand and pretend it's going to, just pass by like the wind. It's coming, and it will be here for a while, and it will be very dominant, and it will affect almost every area of our lives. So we might as well embrace it and make it work for us.
In an industry where we are known for being very strict on accuracy and fact and objective truth, don't you think this uncertainty could be something that can raise some fear or worry amongst journalists?
It will. It will raise fear and worry. And as I say, change is difficult. It is very difficult for anyone to adopt new ways of doing things. But I think what I would say in terms of the opportunity is, even if all these changes are happening, I think there's still a place for the media. That's one thing. There is still a place. We have a lot of misinformation, disinformation, fake news. Right now, people have a lot of information, but are they informed? Would we say they are? They have access. It's been democratized. They're on Twitter. They're on
There's a
social media.
lot more knowledge, but how much information is actually there?
There's a lot more information, but not enough knowledge. I think I'd put it the other way around. They have enough information,
But not enough knowledge.
Yeah, but are they informed? Because there's just so much. And I think our job is to sieve and filter that information and make sure that they get, the best information that's available, high quality journalism. So I think there's still a place for high quality journalism. The key thing is understanding who our audiences are and trying to directly engage with them. The other challenge is also the young people. When I look at Africa, the continent has changed. The demographics have changed. We are much younger. And, you look at Kenya, I think the median age is about 19. In places like Uganda, it's like, 15 and a half, 16 years old. So what does that actually mean from an editor's perspective? If half of the audience, or more than half, in Uganda, it's like 70% under 30. Same thing in Kenya, it's I think more than 60%. So if more than half of your audience are that age, what sort of stories are you actually telling them? You need to think about it from an editor's perspective, that is the audience you're targeting. So when you're doing your stories, remember there's a 21-year-old, there's a 19-year-old who is really supposed to be the main audience. But are you engaging them correctly? So these are some of the challenges that the industry is facing right now, and it's a whole multitude of issues, demographics, technology, changing audience habits. So we just need to be aware of what's happening and begin to, adapt and in order to survive.
Now, as a parting shot, what would be the one thing you want somebody to take away from this podcast if they get nothing else? What do you want them to make sure they do not live without getting, grasping?
Yes. So I think my main point is what I shared actually at the festival. Change is no longer a thing that we just hear about. It's here, and it's here to stay. Technology is going to continue to evolve. The media industry is going to continue to evolve. So what I would advise is don't be one of those people who sit back and hope it will go away, and in the process, get disrupted. I think let's lead the disruption. Let's embrace the opportunities that come with the disruption. And that means adapting, making sure we upskill ourselves, getting the training that we need, developing an interest in what's happening in the industry, and then, of course, applying it. And I think that's the only way we can remain sustainable, viable, and relevant to future audiences.
Thank you so much for sharing your insight and your time with us. We truly value this information, and I hope that whoever is listening has gotten some value from this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. This has been the Totally African Podcast. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Until then, goodbye.